Closing government, we have MBS Tide Pods. Closing opposition, we have Sembrong AS. I will be chairing. My name is Nafisa. With paneling with me will be Behra, Fakri, Faris, and Sharwin. With the motion, assuming it has been found that we live in a simulation, this House will not reveal the discovery. Without further ado, let's start the debate. Here. Oh yeah, same rule applies. Silent your phones. Please use the back door. And yada. Okay. What? Oh. Without further ado, I'd like to invite the Prime Minister again.
Here.
Is it streaming?
Do you believe that people think
Test. It doesn't mean that when you believe that you're in a simulation, that your life outside of the simulation is beneficial and something that can provide happiness towards you. On side of opening government will think that your life outside the simulation is uncertain and something that you cannot certify right now, and the choices towards this will only lead you to more detrimental harms that will be propagated in my arguments. In my speech, I'll be doing three things. Number one, I'll be moving on to the setup. What is our stance? What is simulation in general? Number two, I'm going to move on to the first argument, why do you obtain maximum amounts of happiness on the outside of the house? And secondly, I'll tell you on why we think this world, we should not prioritize the life outside of simulation, even if it's at the benefit of that society, right? So more to the first thing. We believe that our stance is show that we are for the best interest of society, meaning we should just our ability is to show it's not necessary to reveal the discovery of these kinds of simulation to begin with, and how we can obtain the maximum of happiness that we can gain. What is our stance? How do we characterize simulation? We believe that simulation is where you tell everyone that life is a lie, basically. Everything around you is something that's false, and we're going to say there's a world outside that simulation. And also, parallel or not parallel to the world that we live in, it is up to debate. We don't know yet, right? We are safe to say that we don't know the circumstances inside of the simulation, and it's going to involve a lot in my debates, in the arguments I will bring up. We want to the first thing. How do you obtain the maximum happiness on the outside of the house? Because first analysis is on how people have their own personal drives towards self-actualization, right? A world in which people don't know about these kinds of circumstances, people know about these simulations to begin with, they are more likely to form reckless decisions, short-term decisions that are going to magnify their instant gratification to begin with, right? Because they live in the long term. Because they believe in the long term, they're only going to go one day, they'll opt out of that simulation to begin with, right? Thus, their lives will change, and it's just the reason why they're only here is as a transit point in order for them to reach the afterlife of that simulation, right? The fact of it is that the human experience will be diminished. This means that all of your very small memories, the only thing that you call happiness, all of your friends, all of your families, all of your things, like your cats or your dogs, are not going to be prioritized by you. You're not going to feel happiness by the kind of things. It's going to block out every human experience that you face. Secondly, and most importantly, this is going to affect underprivileged individuals, because where they believe life has constricted them to believe that they are following a life of suffering. They will wait out that life of suffering until they can opt out of the simulation to begin with. That's them wanting to make out short-term choices, right? People who are poor are more likely to resort to crime. People who are of the African American community, who are ghettos, are more likely to do things that are compliant with the law to begin with. They'll not think of the long term in these kinds of circumstances. Before I go on to the third analysis, sure.
Sir, if people no longer give a crap about how their life's going to be, do you not think that they'll be less likely about repercussions of crime, which means you're less likely to plan crimes in order to not get caught?
I don't understand how that relates to this debate, so I'll just push it away anyway, right? Thirdly, on how it creates a false sense of hope on the opposite side of the house, because we think that when people know that their suffering can be stopped at the point in which can maybe be stopped by which they can opt out of the simulation. They will try to visualize a life in which they're going to be exposed simulation to begin with, right? They're going to visualize a life that is more beneficial towards them. Thus, for example, if a person is having a very bad illness such as cancer, he will visualize a life which is being a non-cancer patient to begin with, right? It's more for them. They'll visualize have a life, a very happy life with his family, and they can do whatever they desire. They'll visualize their lives out of the simulation that are generally better. There are two major scenarios that will come out of this. Number one, we believe that people who are underprivileged will feel their lives are lesser because they put their visualization of their imagination of their simulations at the point which they're very high, the point which they opt into the simulations. This point in which they feel there's lesser, that their life is lesser to point what imagines, right? Because you must say that these things are uncertain to begin with. If they opt out the simulations, more likely for them to feel that if they are underprivileged and poor and they're going to opt out and feeling rich, it's less likely for them to feel that way. Secondly, people who are already privileged, people who are already not sick, people who are already, like you and I, already okay, will feel regret, and because their lives outside will feel subpar to the visualization of their lives compared to lives inside the simulation, right? Because the point in which you realize that your life outside, that your life inside the simulation is something that's very subpar to your life outside the simulation is going to force them to believe that whatever they have wasted their entire lives in this simulation to begin with. Fourth, we believe that this dilutes the contribution of successful people. The contribution of successful people here means all of your people such as Stephen Hawking, who has created a Big Bang Theory, people who are like Thomas Edison, who is still living, who created a light bulb to begin with, right? We as humanity celebrate these efforts of achieving whatever they have gone through lots of trials and tribulations in order to gain these successes to begin with. We basically celebrate meritocracy on a very high level, right? The point which you realize that all these scientists, all these people who have contributed to society realize that that life is basically a lie. It's more like for them to feel devalued. The point in which this thing propagates in the first place, right? Because they feel that all their efforts have gone to waste, that all the humans celebrating these kind of contributions have basically have no effect whatsoever on society, right? The pragmatic part of this outcome is that people right now in our world are not going to do anything to contribute back to society, right? This means that all of your medical revelations, all the policies, no one will fight for medical revelations, no one will fight for policies for the minorities, because they will just think that all of these effects will bring to no avail, will only not surface in the outcome, thus resulting in a bad quality of life for everyone in these kind of simulations to begin with. Second argument on how we think that we should not prioritize the light outside of these outside of the simulations to begin with. Because first you must understand that the magnitude of certainty outside of our lives is very high to begin with. We don't know basically the instances of our lives to begin with, right? We may be aliens, maybe people who are stuck in very, very small capsules like the Matrix, and we don't know how our lives are in there to begin with. So we think that we rather err on the side of caution, when we think that we will ensure that all of our current happiness can be achieved now, before we delve into whatever instance it may be in the future, right? Even if our life outside of this kind of simulation is something that's beneficial towards us, we can gain the maximum of happiness outside of our lives, we believe that on the net we can gain more happiness on the outside of the house. Because the very least on the outside, that people inside the simulation can gain the very maximum happiness, and also outside, because both spectrums can propagate happiness at a very high level. Never been powder to oppose.
Thank you to PM. Now I'd like to invite leader of opposition here.
After debating 3 rounds of philosophy in this tournament, I feel that I have learned one important thing. Happiness cannot be adjudicated by an outside party. It is something that you hold alone, and that is the only thing where you can find. Side of opening government isn't going to tell the world that if you are poor and if you are underprivileged, the easy way is to just opt out of this simulation. So in my speech, I'm going to do 2 things. 3 points of refutation from the speaker before me in the case of opening opposition, before moving on to 2 points of argumentation. But before that, let's clarify. From my Prime Minister, he told you that we live in a simulation, and assuming that we tell people that we live in a simulation, no information about this simulation has been found out, which means we don't know what life after the simulations are. We can't opt out of the life that we live in. So clearly a characterization that side of opening opposition neglected. But regardless, let's just debate the debate that they want to have. First point of refutation. They argued that it is the choice of individuals to opt out, that people are still be able to opt out regardless of these circumstances. Notice that people who are more likely to opt out are people who feel less or who feel subpar to other individuals, more likely underprivileged individuals or individuals who aren't in a position that they want to be. So the world that side of opening opposition would have is a world that should only be occupied by rich people or people who feel that their life has been fulfilled. We don't think this is the case. The life for other individuals who need neglected, they simply push towards a life where it's ambiguous. We don't know what happens then. We don't know whether they want to live a rich life. We don't know whether they want to live a poor life. We don't think this is the stance that we should take. Because the stance coming from opening government is that you shouldn't give up on life. Because sure, this simulation is still a simulation that you can opt into even after you're dead. Even after you're dead, you could still opt into these forms of simulation. But why shouldn't you choose to opt out of that simulation at your current point in time? That if you are poor and you have a very bad family structure, you should opt out as a result of your pain. Have a seat. The second point of refutation that I have, they argue that underprivileged caused by programmers. We think this is false. Even if they understand that the current state that they are in is planned by individuals, the direct result wouldn't be hatred towards the society, but hatred towards the programmers. So we don't see what any form of instances of happiness or self-fulfillment could materialize within these instances. The third point of refutation that I have, they argue that discrimination is more likely to happen. We think this is a very huge claim and they didn't elaborate on this at all. Notice that the discrimination happens because of differences. Differences in skill, color, differences in belief, and differences are still going to exist even if you push all the poor people out as well. Discrimination will upscale the moment you take away the bottom part of community. So maybe differences in discrimination will happen between white-colored individuals and darker skin-colored individuals, and when you extinguish one race, it will still happen. There's going to be a discrimination between a lesser tone color individual compared to a white individual. We can't diminish discrimination completely. Before I move on to my point, sure.
Our characterization is that we accept that it's not going to be instant they can opt out, but we know that the benefits, the process of people knowing that they can opt out, and the process of them uniting towards that, deal with the process that was brought up in OO.
Sure, the comparative will then become people knowing what happens when they can opt out and people not knowing, and that was the argumentation that was brought by the Prime Minister that wasn't even engaged by leader of opposition. When you know that there is a life that is opt out, there will be less effort for you in order to fight for the life that you are currently in. Which means if you are underprivileged now, there will be less incentive for you to feel happy now. Rather, I'll just say I'll feel happy in the outside world where I'm not being stimulated by the end of the day. First point, you lose your value in the things in life. The first analysis that I have, what makes you happy? There are many things that make you happy. Understanding your memory, successes, it differs from one individual to another. And these things are valuable because there is a very limited amount of it. There's only one version of your parents. You don't have many parents, therefore you love your parents as they are. The second analysis that I have, the revelation that people live in a simulation will take away the value from all these things that you have value in the first place. Understanding that the things you value in your life wouldn't be similar to the things that you value in your outside simulation life means that you are going to resort to drastic measures like abandoning your parents or devaluing the instances or the subjects that you already have in the first place. The third analysis that I have, happiness and fulfillment of an individual must be prioritized now. If we were to conform to the stance of side of opening opposition, we would give up any form of happiness now and strive for the happiness that we can achieve in the simulation. We don't think this is the case. it's not impossible that a poor person and an underprivileged individual can't achieve happiness in the world that we live in now. It's just they don't have the effort to do so. The effort that comes from side of opening opposition is going to be completely diminished because you just give them an opt-out measure to escape from this world and not live the world that they are in. My second argumentation: people aren't going to settle down as a result. Their life becomes worse. In the current world that we live in, it's necessary to understand not everyone lives a privileged life. Some people are born with cancer, some people are born in the poverty cycle. The first analysis that I have: people are not going to be able to move on from the pain that they are programmed in. This engages directly with the argumentation coming from opening opposition. Whenever they talk that feeling that knowing that there's an upper party out there who program you to be poor, who program you to be born with cancer, we think the direct emotion that you are going to feel is anger and resentment towards these individuals in the first place. So the whole life that you cannot live according to our characterization, that you can't opt out, is a life which is filled with anger and resentment towards the upper party, and we don't see any benefit from this anger. Side of opening opposition has to deal with this. But second, if they can't opt out, then the alternative would be pain. And my second analysis would argue why is pain important when it comes in life. The philosophy that I'm going to introduce to today is pain is important for you to feel the maximum amount of happiness. When you are derived and when you come from pain, here's where the successes that you achieve and the fulfillment that you have will get to achieve its highest value in its life. For example, if you come from an underprivileged family and you turn out to be a billionaire, you would actually feel more happiness than an individual who was like before in the current world that we live in reach. But let's take a trade-off. Even if an individual suffers from pain and will still die of pain, we think it's comparatively better, because in that world of pain, it will still come from happiness, would still come from things of value, like your parents or your friends or the birthdays that you live in, the cats and dogs that you have. But the pain under world of opening opposition would be worsened by the anger and the resentment that you have towards your programmers. So we don't see an exclusive benefit from this. The conclusion is living life knowing that something above you is controlling your variables is very harmful, because you don't understand what's happening. You can't determine the lives and the lucks of individuals differ from you. Rather, we would tell everyone that life is life and you can live it as you live it. And the authority and the autonomy for you to control your life and accrue the maximum amount of happiness is your choice and yours only to make.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to invite Yellow. Here.
Here, here.
you. Now let's start the closing half with a member of government. Here.
Is this debate more about the people or how people will feel inside the simulations, or about how people will react or what will happen to individuals when they leave the simulation? We think, or side government, closing government will talk about both of these things, right? I'm going to do a few things in my speech. Firstly, about the religion, how individuals work and how individuals actually react to these kinds of exposure, and secondly, what are the outcomes of all these kind of things. But before that, a few issues and a few classes of characterization. They told you that individuals or minorities are likely to hate against the upper class or the programmers. The problem under their side is that bigots that exist in status quo are likely to call them out for being lower or being placed on a lower pedestal. They were chosen because they were decided to be placed in a lower pedestal. That means the majority of white people or the majority of people who hate against the black minorities are likely to hate them even more. This means the discrimination that happens in status quo happens more under their side when people are accountable for being black, when people are easily called out for being black because you were born in a lower pedestal, and now people have actual facts and actual reasons to believe it. Under those circumstances, the world that they propagate to that individuals can now live better lives is false. That can only happen under closing government. Secondly, they didn't tell you what kind of individuals are likely to opt out or likely to quit the simulation. The problem with this, even if they told you that there was a choice that exists, is a Hobson choice. This means only individuals who are pressured to opt out will opt out. Individuals who feel like they are being discriminated, individuals who are underprivileged. It's obvious that privileged individuals will never opt out because they know that their life is better. The problem under these circumstances is that you push more individuals who want to strive harder to not strive at all. Because there's always an easier alternative to never work harder. There's always an alternative to just opt out of these situations, which is harmful. I think it's better for individuals to want to fight more because they want to fight for their family, they want to fight for their children. Under Thai government, at least we give these poor people or these discriminated individuals chances to fight back against a white society that is clamping down upon them. They don't give those avenues, they don't give those alternatives. That's side opposition done for. First argument on religion and how we are likely to, how side opposition are likely to have more individuals who are disenfranchised and dismotivated. We tell you that the reason, I think the main case or the main idea that this has to run on is how individuals perceive life, which was both neglected from both opening halves. I think the reason why people do live life, or the reason why life is meaningful, is because there's always somewhere that there's something that they have to fight for. In a circumstance where people know that simulations exist, that kind of determination, that kind of striving for hard work will never exist, because you always know that you are always meant to be depressed, you are always meant to have poor jobs, you are never meant to climb the social ladder. What does this mean? This means the poor people on your side are likely to be more poor, but the individuals on the rich side are likely to feel more empowered, and this means that they are likely to easier to discriminate more individuals who are lower than them. They feel that they were a present from God or the person who designed these kinds of simulations. This means that not only do you create a society that is much more divided, you create societies that are much more divided, but not only that, individuals under your side will never be able to reach higher heights under those circumstances. What about the minorities? Under the circumstances that minorities under our side, under opposition side, is that these people will never be able to understand, these individuals will always be disenfranchised or always made fun of. This means all your movements, such as the Black Right movements or any movement that exists inside these kinds of simulations, will die out. Why is this so? This means that individuals do no longer have a reason to fight for their rights, because they know that they were born in a situation that they can never change. Not only that, but because of the programmer that created them, they will never be able to change. Their parents will always make fun of them for being gay. You don't deserve to be a woman. All these kinds of stereotypes are likely to be strengthened in your world. Before that, sure.
So, the fact is that chances to opt out of poverty and chances to opt out of oppression still exist in status quo. That is mutual exclusivity. Comparatively, when you know that it's an entity in those situations, you hate on the entity. Individual, you will actively try to go against the entity in comparison actually trying to go into the oppressor.
No. If you feel like you have been placed on a bloody pedestal, that means that the programmer has set you somewhere that you will never be able to change yourself. This means that you are likely to believe that you are disenfranchised or you are not meant to climb the social ladder. Their assumption is that individuals are likely to fight back against these programmers. Maybe that's true, but even if it's true, that doesn't mean they have that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the power or they want to fight back against these individuals, because everything that they wanted to fight for no longer has meaning. Why is this true? We think that when someone tells you that you deserve this, and especially since you are programmed to be this kind of person, to be lower than individuals, it's less likely for under your side for individuals to fight back against the people. Even if individuals under your side feel like they need to disenfranchise or fight back against these kinds of programmers, these individuals are much more, even if they do, the society which are much filled with more white people who clamp down upon them are likely to feel more disenfranchised. They will never be able or never want to change their ideologies, and they will never feel like they deserve more rights. What's the problem? So the conclusion is that under their side, discrimination is more likely to happen, but not only that, only people who are of a certain genre, of a certain type, will opt out and will have a Hobson choice of wanting to opt out because they don't have enough rights and they were born on this pedestal. With that, I'm proud to propose.
Now I'd like to invite from closing opposition, member of opposition. Here.
Testing 1, 2, 3. For the first time, people could make a choice that would eventually set up their whole life. For the first time, people that live on the outside could choose whether how their life should be at the very first place. Under side closing opposition, we do a few number of things. Number one, we tell you how under outside would benefits the people, even if they are privileged or underprivileged. And number two, on how our own side is better than side opening opposition. Okay, before that, a few rebuttals. Number one, what side government have told you? Number one, they told you on how people that are subpar or people that are underprivileged will opt out into these types of simulations. We think it's okay, even if they are subpar or even if they are privileged. How so? Later I will explain to you explicitly how that at the end of the day, even if the life outside of the simulation is worse, it's still okay with side closing opposition. other rebuttals will be integrated into my argumentation itself. Now, what are my argumentation itself? The reason that we think that the ultimate reason that we think that this motion, we think we should reveal the discovery is because we think that every information that people have discovered, you should know it as a people, because your decision at the end of the day in those kinds of simulation that's limited by the programmer, or that's limited by whatever that's programmed to you, is at the end of the day would be end if you choose to opt out of this simulation at the very first place. We think under our side, we allow for people to have the chance to make their lives better at the very first place. This is something that's mutually exclusive under side closing opposition. How so? So we tell you that in the if they opt out of the simulation. Now we tell you that it's their own choice. We to say that even if it's beneficial or it's harmful, we tell you that it's upon their consent. Why consent is really important to debate. We tell you that when you live in a simulation, you does not consent upon it. You don't know why you are in the simulation itself. We think that your sentience as a human itself is very fake. Your success in simulation does not mean who you really are in the real world itself. So we tell you that you should opt out from those kinds of simulation that deters your life as a human itself. We tell you that those value you as a human are different in the simulation rather than in the real world itself. But we are okay with it as long as you yourself can make those kinds of decisions that side government don't allow you. Before that opening,
If this information is ambiguous in nature, would you then portray this choice as a relevant choice?
yeah, we think that relevant choice is something that's very people should know whether it's harmful. Even if we portray it as a bad choice, we think that certain people will still opt into it, and we think it's very good for us to portray whatever the real life at the very first place itself. How so is important? Because we do agree that at certain point, under our side, people will give up in simulation because they know that they are constricted within the programs that they have put into their body. But we think it's okay. How so? Because we tell you number one, even if you continue fighting all those discrimination, oppression, the glass ceiling that exists within those simulations, we think that you will stuck into a stagnant place itself. Rather than when you opt into a real life world where you could make a change that's very significant towards yourself, we think that's the moment where we empower those kinds of subpar individuals or even privileged individuals at the very first place. We allow them to make their lives better at the very first place. Number two, on how, because we characterize that oppression still happens, but we already know that under state school people have already fight against all those oppressions, glass ceilings that happens. But the moment that you opt yourself is the moment that you could make a real significant change in your life at the very first place itself. The reason being is because let's look under what circumstances would you create your life better. Number one, when you don't decide what your life will be, and number two, on how your life will be. The reason that, let's say, if you opt out into the real world and your life sucks, then you know that that's your last chance to make your life better, and your life sucks because you know you choose that. The moment that you realize that you have made a mistake, that's the moment you are going to improvise your life at the whole state itself, right? Rather than underside government, they know that even if they work really hard to overcome against all the odds to become a successful person, we think that those constitutions don't allow them to become a successful person or person that they dream of at the very first. But before that, yes.
We told you that we don't know how to opt out of this simulation in the first place. That is how people can choose to opt out if they do not have the access to do so.
Number one, if they with that side opening opposition, as we told you on how they could opt out by a technology or even by suicide. We think that even if they do it by suicide, we are okay with it as long as they are as long as they are the one who make that particular choice itself, not inflicted or not being influenced by any types of programmer that or by any types of persons that are determining your life should be. We think this is very harmful on this side government to allow those kinds of things to happen at the very first place. Because at the very first place, they don't have any consent to live upon a simulation. What does this mean? This means that is a very that's a direct oppression towards all types of people, whether it's privileged or no sub-privileged. Because we tell you that the moment you pull out the red from a person's life is the moment that you ruin their life as a whole. Even though they are successful in those kinds of simulation, we tell you that those kinds of successful does not real. We tell you we should chase what is real and what is fake at the very first. We tell you we should change what is real and abandon what the fake ones as side government approved. So what are the conclusions to make? Closing opposition to you. Number one, we tell you even if it's harmful outside the simulation, we tell you it's okay as long as you make your choice and as long as you can improve your life without any constriction that exists within status quo. Number two, on how we tell you that you should know whatever information that people know, whatever types of information that would affect your life at the end of the day. The moment that you don't reveal what the programmers have done to you is the moment that your life cannot be improved any better, or if they can improve a very little scale. With that, I thank you.
I'd like to invite the speaker from government here.
Here.
I think life isn't fair. I think life has really put me down in many ways I can. I think life has made me become an Indian, that I have to pray to gods I never wanted to, follow my mom to a temple that I never liked, and meet people I never wanted to. I think this is inherently what life is all about, right? You being a failure to your family because you didn't want to do engineering, or all this nonsense, right? You know, like, yeah, I'm an Indian boy, I face it a lot. So in my speech, we are going to do a few things, right? First, we're going to touch on opposition's whole case with closing and opening as well. Then I'll be talking to you about a few issues, right? One issue which I think stands out a lot is about who combats the programmers the most, right? But let's just move with the entire side opposition. Because their case wanted to tell you that if there's a simulation, you can opt out of the simulation, and there are two ways. Number one, I find this very it's so easy now that you have a new way for you to get out of this life, but let's just go with it anyways, right? Because they wanted to tell you that, you know, you could commit suicide and you wouldn't have to face these problems. We think that the fact that you have to face life, and the point in which you bring success in it, right? When you escape all these kind of narratives that, you know, you are bad, you couldn't be a lawyer, you couldn't be an engineer, and when you have certain success, you are able to celebrate it much more, right? So this kind of celebration is what life gives to you. If you're going to opt out of the simulation, you could never have any of these experiences, you could never have any of these values that you could have as an individual. Moreover, I think that the fact that you live in life, it teaches you lessons that you opting out of the simulation will never have, that people will betray you, that people will hate you. Well, the reason why my argument stands is because they say that out of the simulation there is another world that they wanted to propagate. Their whole case now is that after you opt out of the simulation, you now just exist in another world. They never clarify to you what this world is, whom you're going to be after you exit this simulation, and how this world works. I think this world is basically where everybody is still going to be the same. Meaning to say that discrimination is still going to happen, and all of those narratives that happen in life is still going to happen under side opposition. So they never show to you how this world is mutually exclusive to them and how it is inherently extremely important. Secondly, they wanted to bring to you this issue of, you know, combating the programmers, right? So this is where we think that the debate happens under closing government. Because we wanted to tell you about how you shouldn't combat against this form of this system, and that you should comply to it. So we already told you how life in itself is something which is so important that you get lessons that you'll never learn in any other area, or how life in itself is very cool. But the second thing is, when you combat these programmers, we think you like create problems with the system in itself. So what kind of problems are we talking to you? We're talking problems like how you're going to speed up the end of your simulation, or second is how your simulation is going to be much more screwed up.
what I mean by that is, things like black holes are going to appear more often, or when you combat the system in itself, you have a really like mixed up world as how the world could function. Because mind you, a simulation can also be something that starts and ends. You have things like global warming, you have things like black holes that could lead to the end of the world. So here's how, when you combat these programmers and you try to reform this world or try to reach out to the simulation, to the people that created you, they're more likely to inhibit you into the simulation within itself. So what does happen in the end of this debate of this idea of simulation? We think that the simulation is going to be one where you're locked down and you're clamped down in this world, that you're trying to escape, you're trying to break the system, but it's extremely hard for you to break the system. Even if you do break the system, we think you're more likely to suffer in the system even more further, breaking the rules or laws of physics that you should have never touched, you have never visited. We think your whole universe is going to clamp down. We don't think that is how you will survive as a person. But on a world where you do find these programmers and you do want to assassinate them, yeah, sure. We think that now you try to bring equality or you try to bring any sort of narratives into this world. We think you have already like killed your creators, and I think that the fact that you killed your creators is something that is so abhorrent, because they are the people who shape you to be who you are, and that you succumb to those narratives and fight against them is something which is quite confusing. But let's just talk a bit more about side opposition, because they told you that that these people can have better lives, that you could solve discrimination. I think not. I think the whole government bench has told you as to how that when you are, like, especially what Ame told you, right, that when you're selected by the simulation to be a certain individual in a certain position, what this means is that the simulation had chosen you to be the better one, and the simulation had chosen you to be the worst one. So what happens, right? We think the social distinction or the social hierarchy which already exists seems more prominent, and we think that you're already going, the fact that you have a reason to discriminate people even more, because you were selected to be on a lower position, therefore you are of a lesser quality. That is the reason why you victimized. That is the reason why black people were colonized by white people. That's the reason why slavery existed. It gives them more of an excuse to put society on a lower pedestal. They wanted to tell you as to how, now everybody is going to work together to like find these programmers or things like that. I think when this kind of problem exists in the first place, that can never happen under side opposition. But rather than our world, if you come to some extent of, whereby people can come to find justice for everyone, find equality for everyone, then you have the ultra society that you ever wanted to happen in this debate. Because we all concede that in status quo you have things like discourse which happen in this world, right? Only because there are people who are fighting to bring the best out of your life to you. A second level of analysis would be, that if you want to opt out of the system, there are people who didn't want to opt out of the system with you. Like your mom was also in the simulation, who wanted you to be an engineer, but then you died because you wanted to opt out of the system, right? I think it gives your mom a reason to also opt out of the system as well, but the fact that she wants to stay makes her life less credible as well. We think if you stay and you fight with her, you support these individuals. We think it's some form of third-party harm that can happen in this debate. Because the simulation also happens and involves other people with feelings and other people with their own characteristics, right? Because we think that this debate is one whereby when you have these characteristics and you have other people, you comply to the world as well. Much like how even if you're a slave, you live with the people in those slaves and you climb up the society pedestal with them. So we think that only when it comes under closing government that you are able to live with them, you suffer with them, and when you grow and when your society progresses, you celebrate with them. We think that is the kind of society, that's the kind of values of life that you essentially get, and is one which is very, very beautiful. So who then creates the best society, right? Because side government, we already told you, when you have narratives like discourse, or you have narratives where you fight for equality or justice, we could create some form of better society. We can get rid of all of the rules of how society is differentiated by themselves. In opposition's world, you never attack those narratives. We think your programmers are more likely to be more incentivized to go against you if you want to fight the programmers itself. It is impossible to fight your creators if they even created you in the first place. After all, they make you seem like nothing at all.
Now let's end the debate with Viv's speech from closing opposition. Yeah.
no matter what harms that is stated to you, no matter what kind of bad effects that is stated to you, we tell you that these people on the ground, that they deserve to know that they are being in a simulated world, that the harms that they've gone through is because of simulators itself, is because of the programmers itself. We tell you that these people on the ground, that they deserve to know these kind of things because the most affected in this world is them themselves. Therefore, we don't think that it is okay for you to let this discovery to pass just like that and not letting the society to know just like that. But let's move on to a few issues. In first, from the government bench, they stated to you on how that human experience that they will diminish, that they will not value life that they should, right? But we tell you that once, if you yourself, you already know that this world is simulated in the first place, but if you yourself chose to actually believe that what you experience is true, choose what your experience, your happiness or your disaster in your life, you chose to be true, we tell you that it is okay. If you wanted to stay in that stimulated world, we tell you that it is okay. Because we tell that in our side, we give choices towards the people in whether they wanted to opt in this simulated world or whether they wanted to opt out of the simulated world, right? We tell that if they choose to believe that what they've gone through is actually true and it's not lie, we are okay with that because they are the ones who are most affected. Because we believe that these people, that every people on this ground, that they deserve to know what happens, what they are living in the very first place. But before I move on, yes.
Your member claim that regardless of what emotion you are capable of feeling, there will be no change. If your rebellious stance results to stagnant conditions, what is your motivation to live then?
So, if these people still live in a stagnant condition, we tell that we still wanted to reveal this discovery in the very first place because when you don't reveal this discovery, what happens to the government side is that they live in that they will still experience this kind of disaster, that they will experience this bad experience, right? But they didn't know that they are being programmed. And we tell them that is not good as an individual in the very first place. Imagine if you live in this world in which you don't know that your life is being programmed by other people and your life is miserable. More likely that these people, that this person, individual itself, they will feel dismotivated. They will not feel they will most likely to feel they want to end their life because it is the problem that they've gone through is because of themselves. That they put the blame on themselves, in which we believe that is not true. That the problem that they've gone through is because of the programmers itself. That is why we tell you that in the very first place that this discovery should be revealed in the very end of the day because you are not the one who should be blamed, because you are not the one who actually control your own life, right? So we tell that we are making these people to believe that they are not the one who are controlling their life, but there are other programmers who control their life, and that these programmers should be blamed in the very end of the day. Please sit down. So we said, so next on how they stated on that we might to give false hope towards people suffering, which means that they stated to you on that the people who suffers in the simulation world, they don't have this kind of false hope that on the outside world that they will might be better in the first place. We tell that okay, we take the bullet that yes, there might be false hope, but what we give towards these people, individuals in the first place, because we give them hope that at least that they could that these individuals, that they believe that there might be other better lives in other world, right? That these people will not be dismotivated, will not be that dismotivated as in their world. That these people at least they have the motivation that in the government bench that really doesn't exist in the very first place. We tell you that these individuals at least that they will have a hope and they at least will be happy to know that they have other hope in the very end of the day, especially towards minorities, especially towards people who are being discriminated for a very long time. Recognizing that these people who are being discriminated for a very long time, that their life is more likely to not be changed in the very end of the day, we tell that if you reveal this discovery, at least that they have the hope that maybe that this situation will not happen on the outside world, that maybe this situation will not even exist in the outside world, that these people at least they will have a kind of hope that doesn't even exist in their side. We tell you that even though in our side that people will not even like even though people will not people will be angry towards the programmer. We tell them that it is okay, that these individuals should be angry towards the programmer, that these individuals should be angry towards the programmer because they, the programmer, make their life miserable, in which they should not be into, right? Because these individuals, when they live in the world, that they should live in a world that they themselves control their whole life, not other programmers who control their life. But for 6 years.
Yeah, I think the problem with your whole bench is that you have this new world that you never talked to us about. I think that this new world will still have the discrimination that was existing in your stimulation. I think this world will still have the poor and rich gap that it still had in your stimulation.
Okay, so let's, in the situation where maybe in our bad case scenario, that this discrimination or these poor problems will still exist on the outside world, right? But let's say to you, on the benefits that only exist in outside is that the people who live in these simulations, they still have hope that they still have hope that the outside world is still better. That these people still will have a perception that maybe that they could change their own life, which doesn't even happen in their side. What happens to the people in their side is that their people will eventually shut themselves off. That they will eventually like, there is no hope in my life. That this life cannot be changed at all because it is already because there is nothing else that I can opt into. So we tell you that even though those kind of situations will exist or maybe exist in a bad case scenario, but we tell you that at least in our side we give these individuals to actually on the individual scale we give them hope, we give them actually to be happy to know that there is something that they can change into something better. So what we tell you on our opposition batch, we tell you already that these people they have potential to actually change their own life. That first. And second of all, we already told you on how we give hopes to these people that have already been discriminated for a very long time in this simulated world. And third of all, on how we give choices for these people to actually opt into or opt out of this simulated world. That's it.
Thank you very much. We'll leave now.